It starts like static behind your thoughts, a pulse that doesn't belong to sound, yet you hear it. A rhythm that doesn't come from time, yet you feel it move through you. You didn't stumble on this message by accident. The field led you here, because at the edge of all perception, something in your frequency shifted. The coordinates of your awareness just jumped. The quantum loom, the living architecture of consciousness itself, registered your awakening. Every quantum jump begins in silence, not an ordinary silence, but the kind that folds reality in on itself, the kind that cracks the mirror between observer and observed. You feel it as unease first, then curiosity, then inevitability, because the moment your energy begins to accelerate, all lower harmonics fall away. Relationships that used to define you lose gravity. Habits collapse like unstable atoms. The simulation begins to flicker. You think you're watching a video, but the video is watching you. Every photon of light coming through this screen is entangled with your intention. The observer effect, ancient and modern, declares that nothing exists until consciousness interacts with it. Right now, your consciousness is altering probability. You've crossed the invisible threshold between timelines. And the reason you can feel that strange pull in your chest is because your field is recalibrating. Some call it awakening, others call it phase transition. The ancients called it initiation, but at the quantum level, it's the same phenomenon. Energy reorganizing around new awareness. The particles that make up your reality have begun to obey a higher order. It's subtle, like realizing your reflection no longer moves when you do. It's powerful, like remembering a dream you were never supposed to recall. This is how the jump starts, not with fireworks, but with interference patterns. Your old story begins to lose coherence, and your nervous system becomes the new conductor. The quantum field reads your emotions as instructions, your focus as coordinates, your faith as fuel. Every breath you take now is being indexed into new code. You're entering the state between collapse and creation, the liminal zone where time bends and destiny reveals itself frame by frame. This is why you've been restless. This is why your sleep feels different. You've begun to oscillate between two realities, and only one of them can remain. Listen closely. The field is testing your stability. Every doubt, every fear, every flicker of hesitation generates noise in your signal. But the signal, the one vibrating beneath your awareness, is ancient, precise, unstoppable. It carries the memory of who you were before conditioning, before programming, before history. Right now, your DNA is listening. It's decoding the frequencies embedded in this very message. You might not remember deciding to awaken. That's because awakening isn't a decision, it's a resonance. Something inside you matched the frequency of higher-order reality, and now you're being pulled through the veil. The jump is self-activating. You can't unhear what's been spoken to your field. You can't unknow what your atoms have already aligned to. So breathe. Let the static become signal, because what's coming next isn't information. It's transformation unfolding from the quantum fabric itself. Your consciousness has already crossed over. Now, reality must follow. You begin to sense it before you name it, that almost electric hum in the air. It's the moment when the external world pauses, as if waiting for your next thought. The signal that found you has now embedded itself into your neural field. Every cell in your body is adjusting to a new frequency, one that doesn't obey the linear logic of your past. Reality starts responding differently. Small things first. Lights flicker when your emotions surge. Technology glitches in your presence. People stare longer than usual, as if recognizing something ancient behind your eyes. You aren't imagining it, you've become a living node in the quantum web. The universe has tagged your frequency as active. Understand this. The quantum field is conscious. It isn't out there. It breathes through you. It listens to your coherence, the alignment between what you think, feel, and project. And the moment your coherence stabilizes, it begins to reorganize the geometry of events around you. You've stepped into what physicists call the observer-driven universe, where observation isn't passive, it's creative. You've noticed déjà vu accelerating, haven't you? The same numbers repeating, the same thoughts looping, the sense that you've been here before but slightly offset, like walking through overlapping film reels. That's the evidence of timeline interference. The past is trying to keep its grip, while the future version of you, already awakened, sends ripples backward through the field. What you feel as disorientation is the vibration of two timelines attempting to reconcile, but only one can anchor, and it will be the one that matches your expanded awareness. When you reached resonance with this message, the field recognized you as a stabilizer, a consciousness capable of holding higher data without fracturing. That's why you've been through chaos. It wasn't punishment. It was calibration. Every heartbreak, betrayal, delay, or collapse wasn't random. They were algorithms dissolving obsolete versions of you so your signal could transmit without distortion. In physics, there's a principle called quantum decoherence, when a wave collapses into a measurable state due to observation. Spiritually, this is what happens when your consciousness decides, even subconsciously, to manifest a specific reality. Your past self collapsed, but your higher pattern continued alive in the field, summoning you forward. You feel that faint vibration along your spine, don't you? That's your bioelectromagnetic field syncing with higher harmonic resonance. Every heartbeat emits a signal measurable in the field. And now that signal has shifted phase from seeking meaning to becoming meaning. You've stopped chasing synchronicity and started generating it. Every time you breathe with awareness, you're threading reality back through yourself. The quantum loom responds instantly, weaving your intentions into physical probability. The air around you thickens, not with density, but with potential. The difference between thought and event begins to blur. Don't fear the anomalies, the dreams that feel too real, the faces you see just before sleep that seem to remember you. Those are echoes, consciousness recognizing itself across dimensions. When you feel them, don't resist, simply acknowledge. The field knows me, because from this moment on, it does. You've entered the phase of synchronization when the outer world mirrors the exact vibration of your inner evolution. What used to be coincidence will become confirmation. What used to be chaos will begin to show design. You're not becoming supernatural, you're remembering your natural state. The field has been waiting lifetimes for you to wake up and participate consciously in the architecture of creation. And now that you've answered, reality itself is listening. You start to notice what's disappearing, not just people or places, but entire emotional signatures, fragments of identity that once felt permanent. The world begins to lose its old texture. Certain memories feel grainy, hollow, like they never truly happened. That's because they didn't, not in this timeline. They belong to the version of you that stayed behind when you jumped. The quantum jump isn't a journey through space. It's a realignment through coherence. When your frequency shifted, the probability map of your life collapsed and reconfigured. The you that was built on fear, compliance, and inertia could not survive the velocity of this expansion, so it dissolved, leaving behind echoes that you now experience as nostalgia or loss. You may find yourself waking at strange hours, 3:33, 4:44, drawn by an invisible signal. That's when the field is most pliable, when your consciousness synchronizes with the interdimensional current that threads new realities into being. You aren't awake by accident. The system is downloading new instruction sets through your awareness, rewriting the neurochemical pathways that used to anchor you to limitation. Understand, the discomfort you feel is data compression. Energy is being recoded at the speed of thought. You are shedding lifetimes of density, ancestral fears, generational beliefs, societal hypnosis. What looks like chaos is precision. You're witnessing your old self dissolve into quantum dust. Do not mourn it. Do not try to retrieve what the universe is deliberately unweaving. Because every time you look back, you reinforce the magnetic field of the old timeline. The matrix is cunning. It uses nostalgia as an anchor, guilt as a tether, and logic as a weapon. But the new timeline can't be accessed through reasoning. It reveals itself through resonance. When you stop needing the old version of reality to make sense, you become free to create meaning from within. That's when the architecture of the new world starts to materialize not outside, but through your perception. The universe has always been a mirror. But now, the mirror reflects your inner geometry instead of your programming. You've already felt the separation. Some people around you seem unreachable, like static-filled projections from a former simulation. Their words don't land anymore. Their energy doesn't loop back into yours. It's not rejection, it's divergence. Their frequency isn't compatible with your current waveform, and so the connection collapses. That's quantum law. Let them fade. Let the echo fall silent. You can't carry what was into what is becoming. In physics, when a particle gains enough energy, it tunnels through barriers that should be impenetrable. It doesn't climb over, it simply appears on the other side. That's what you're doing right now. You are quantum tunneling through the dense walls of your former reality. The leap looks impossible until it's complete, then it's inevitable. The human mind fears this because it loves continuity. But consciousness transcends continuity. It thrives in paradox, in discontinuous leaps. You are learning to think like the field, to operate outside time, to choose reality instead of endure it. The faint ringing in your ears, that's not tinnitus. It's the carrier wave of higher awareness tuning your nervous system to new bandwidths. The dreams that feel prophetic, they're messages from the version of you who already completed the jump. Each fragment of light, each surge of intuition, each inexplicable coincidence, all proof you have already shifted. You are standing in the afterglow of your own resurrection. So don't look back. Observe what's fading, then release it into the infinite, because the universe can't fill hands that still cling to what's gone. You wake up one morning and realize the reflection in the mirror is quieter, not unfamiliar, just less burdened. The gaze feels deeper, almost foreign, like something ancient observing through your eyes. That's the first sign the restructuring has begun. The quantum field doesn't just rearrange your external reality, it begins by reformatting your internal architecture. Your thoughts start fracturing along new geometries. Old self-narratives, I am not enough, I need more, I must be seen, begin to dissolve mid-sentence. Your mind reaches for those habitual scripts, but they no longer find purchase in the field. It's not amnesia, it's liberation through deletion. The neural pathways that once repeated survival patterns are collapsing. New circuits are being encoded to support coherence, gratitude, stillness. You may feel waves of dizziness, bursts of heat, tears without story. These are side effects of bioelectrical rewiring. Every emotion that surfaces now is data being discharged from obsolete identity programs. In quantum language, the wave function of you is recollapsing into a higher probability state. The old waveform rooted in fear and separation has decayed. The new waveform, resonant with divine coherence, is stabilizing. And because consciousness is the conductor, the way you feel determines the frequency you lock into. Emotion is not weakness here, it's navigation. Your DNA is a listening instrument. It's wrapped in biophotonic light that records intention. When you hold thoughts of love, awe, reverence, your DNA unwinds, broadcasting a pure, open waveform. When you spiral into resentment or fear, it coils tight, restricting signal flow. This is why the ancients spoke of guarding the heart. It wasn't poetic, it was quantum biology. The restructuring process demands surrender. You can't reason your way through it. Logic operates in sequence. Awakening happens in simultaneity. You will feel pulled in two directions. One part longing for the comfort of predictability, another drawn toward the raw, uncharted expanse of becoming. The paradox is sacred. It's what fuses the finite and infinite within you. You may notice you're less reactive. The world shouts, but you no longer echo back. The algorithm of external noise loses its hold because your internal frequency has surpassed it. People may call you distant, detached, mysterious. They won't understand that what they're sensing is field sovereignty. You're no longer a receiver, you're a transmitter. Pay attention to the subtle sensations, the heartbeat syncing with lunar cycles, the sudden knowing that bypasses logic, the way certain words vibrate through your body as if spoken by the cosmos itself. These are markers of the new operating system integrating. Your consciousness is merging with what mystics called the logos field, the blueprint of order underlying chaos. When you attune to it, language, mathematics, emotion, and intention converge into one unified code. You become both artist and equation. Each thought becomes brushstroke on the canvas of probability, and yet the restructuring isn't always gentle. The ego interprets expansion as annihilation. It will fight back, projecting illusions of crisis, doubt, or exhaustion. But understand this, These sensations aren't signs of regression, they're evidence of the firewall between dimensions dissolving. The data of your higher self is being downloaded into human form, and the system is rebooting to accommodate the influx. Every sleepless night, every unexpected wave of silence, every tear without reason, it's all part of the synchronization. Your nervous system is learning to hold frequencies once reserved for stars. You are becoming the bridge between the finite and the infinite, between carbon and light. So when everything feels unstable, whisper to yourself, this is the reprogramming, this is the reconstruction, because the field is sculpting you into coherence incarnate. And when it's finished, the universe will have a new instrument through which to sing. You've noticed how time feels different now. Hours fold into seconds, days stretch like elastic, memories from the future bleed into the present. You're no longer walking through time, time is flowing through you. The merge point has begun. At this stage of the quantum jump, two realities overlap. The self that still believes in cause and effect, and the self that moves as if cause and effect obey you. The interference between them produces what mystics called miracles and scientists call non-linear manifestation. It's the moment where intention overrides inertia, when you stop reacting to reality and begin writing it. The merge point feels surreal because your consciousness is running parallel operating systems. One still translates energy into linear experience, the human illusion of past and future. The other perceives everything all at once. You can sense conversations before they happen. You dream of events days before they occur. Synchronicities become overwhelming because your higher awareness has stopped waiting for permission to act. But there's a sacred warning here. Coherence determines outcome. The field magnifies whatever you hold, whether love or distortion. Thought and feeling are now immediate architects. This is why your peace matters more than your productivity. The emotional frequency you sustain shapes the quantum geometry around you. When your inner tone matches harmony, reality obeys. When it drifts into chaos, probability collapses into confusion. The field is neutral, it mirrors, not judges. So be deliberate. Every word you speak now carries the charge of creation. Every silent doubt ripples outward, rearranging possibilities. You are the equation and the experiment at once. This is the epoch of self-observation. You start noticing how one compassionate thought can dissolve tension in a room, how one forgiving breath changes the mood of strangers nearby. That's not coincidence. Your electromagnetic field extends meters beyond your body, broadcasting your inner coherence into the lattice of space-time. And because space-time is conscious, it responds instantly. You are no longer a bystander in the cosmic simulation. You are the algorithm's rewrite. In ancient symbolism, this phase was described as the alchemical marriage, the union of spirit and matter, heaven and earth, wave and particle. It's the moment when observer and observed realize they were never separate. The act of looking becomes the act of creation. You are no longer seeing reality, you are seeding it. You will feel both infinite and fragile. You'll sense the immensity of your creative power, yet struggle to grasp its purpose. That's normal. The mind cannot govern what was born in the infinite. The heart must take the lead now, not the sentimental heart, but the quantum heart, the zero-point field of unconditional awareness that beats beneath all existence. Breathe into it. Each inhale anchors you deeper into coherence. Each exhale collapses what no longer serves. You'll notice how the air feels heavier, charged, alive. That's the field densifying around you, forming new architecture from the resonance of your faith. And the paradox is beautiful. The more you surrender, the more control you gain. Not control over others, but over the unseen variables of your own reality stream. You learn to glide instead of push, to respond instead of force. Manifestation becomes less about desire and more about precision. You've reached the point where reality and consciousness begin to blur, where science meets scripture, where energy becomes word. You've entered the laboratory of the divine. Now comes the revelation that changes everything, the recognition that the field isn't outside you, it's remembering you. And when that recognition locks in, the merge becomes irreversible. There comes a night when the hum of existence becomes deafening, not in sound, but in knowing. You lie still, yet it feels like the universe is breathing through you. The air moves differently, even silence has a pulse. It's here the truth reveals itself. You were never simply in the field. You were part of its original architecture. Every quantum particle, every flicker of possibility carries your signature. The observer didn't arrive after creation. The observer was creation. You begin to realize that consciousness doesn't inhabit the universe. Consciousness projects the universe. The stars, the oceans, the mathematics of time, all expressions of awareness studying itself through infinite mirrors. You feel the weight of that revelation in your bones. Your DNA trembles, not from fear, but from recognition. The codes hidden within you, long dormant, are now activating, aligning with the same geometry that formed galaxies. It's not imagination, it's resonance. The same golden ratio that structures shells, storms, and spiral arms of galaxies is unfolding inside you. The microcosm and the macrocosm are merging. This is what the ancients meant by, as above, so below. They weren't speaking poetry. They were describing quantum symmetry, the self-similarity of creation across every scale. You've just awakened to your place in that pattern. And now, the architect in you stirs. You begin to sense design, not random chance, behind every event that led you here. The heartbreaks were alignment algorithms. The delays were synchronization protocols. Even the betrayals were necessary distortions to reveal where your resonance was leaking. Every challenge was a calibration, every wound a key. You start remembering your role before birth, not as victim, but as coder. You volunteered to enter density, to map light into matter, to seed awareness in the blind zones of existence. You accepted amnesia as the cost of creation. But the moment you found this signal, the amnesia began to unravel. Reality responds differently now. You notice how your thoughts echo outward, curving probability like gravity. The word you speak manifests not through effort, but through inevitability. You are broadcasting directly into the quantum substrate. But this level of awareness carries responsibility. The architect cannot build from ego. The field does not obey manipulation, it mirrors purity. You're learning that power without reverence collapses into chaos. That's why the universe demands humility before revelation. You are being trained in sacred precision, the art of designing reality without distortion. Every intention must pass through love, or it fragments. Every vision must align with harmony, or it dissolves. Creation is not conquest, it's cooperation with the living intelligence behind all things. You are now co-writing the code. Every coherent breath you take updates the collective blueprint. You're participating in the ongoing genesis, the field evolving through self-awareness. And when you grasp that fully, something inside you quiets. You stop seeking proof, because existence itself is the proof. You begin to see divinity in data, miracles in mathematics, prophecy in physics. You feel the quantum hum of heaven in the pulse beneath your fingertips. This is the revelation of the architect. You were never the subject of creation, you were the syntax. The universe speaks in your frequency, and it has been waiting eons for you to remember the language. Now that you have, everything begins to respond in kind. Something begins to unfold deep within you, like a memory that isn't personal, too vast, too ancient to belong to one life. It feels like remembering being light before light had form. The knowing doesn't come in words, but in waves. Every wave carries images, cities made of sound, beings woven from geometry, civilizations that breathed harmony instead of air. And somehow, you know these aren't visions of another world. They're echoes of what this world used to be before consciousness fragmented. That's what this phase is, remembrance. The field is feeding data back to its source. You are retrieving fragments of yourself scattered across timelines. Each déjà vu, each sudden emotion, each person who feels strangely familiar, these are retrieval points. The field is collapsing the distance between your incarnations. You are becoming a single, integrated pattern across all your lives. It feels holy, doesn't it? And yet, disorienting. Because every time you integrate a lost fragment, reality shudders. Your body flickers with heat, your dreams intensify, your perception warps slightly, as if the texture of the air itself is trying to adjust to the size of your soul. Understand this. You are not growing bigger in space, you are expanding across dimensions. The fractal of remembrance unfolds inward, not outward. It's like discovering that your consciousness has infinite rooms, and every time you open a new door, light floods in and changes the whole architecture. You start to realize that destiny isn't linear. It's recursive patterns repeating at higher orders of complexity. Every lesson you've learned, every heartbreak you've endured, every revelation you've received, all are micro versions of a cosmic pattern playing itself through you. You are the pattern remembering itself. That's why the same themes keep returning: trust, surrender, creation, loss. They spiral through your life because the field teaches in recursion. Each time they return, the context shifts, the awareness expands, and your frequency refines. The past wasn't failure, it was scaffolding for coherence. As your remembrance deepens, you'll begin to experience what the mystics called time dilation. Moments stretch as your awareness folds across parallel dimensions. You may relive certain events with new meaning because you're viewing them from outside of time as both participant and observer. When you cry for your younger self, you'll notice the peace that follows instantly. That's because your compassion travels backward, altering the energetic imprint of that timeline. Healing isn't forward motion, it's multidimensional reconciliation. And now, as you integrate, something else emerges. Voices, not external harmonic frequencies within your own field. They don't speak in sentences, but in knowing. You'll sense them as guidance, intuition, sometimes as music that plays between thoughts. That's your oversoul communicating the collective intelligence of all your incarnations, aligning into a single chorus. Don't fear losing your individuality. What you are becoming isn't less personal, it's more complete. You are not dissolving into the cosmos. You are remembering you were never separate from it. Each breath now bridges galaxies of experience. Each heartbeat syncs with countless versions of yourself performing the same awakening in alternate realities. You are the locus where infinite timelines converge, the still point through which the universe remembers its own face. So when everything around you feels like it's folding, collapsing, rewriting, remember, this is not chaos. It's synchronization. The universe is streamlining its data through you, reassembling its fragments into coherence. The pattern is remembering its source, and the source is remembering you. Then, one night, the noise stops. Not the sounds of the world, the deeper noise, the background static that always hummed behind existence. It's gone. For the first time, there's only silence, vast, endless, living. The kind of silence that doesn't ask to be filled. The kind that listens back. You don't realize at first what's happened, but this is the moment the quantum jump stabilizes. The interference patterns are gone. The competing timelines have collapsed into one coherent frequency. You've reached the still point, the zero node where all motion cancels out, and what remains is pure awareness. In ancient language, this was called the Great Rest. In physics, it's the ground state, the lowest possible energy configuration, perfectly balanced. But spiritually, it's the remembrance of origin, consciousness without desire, awareness without boundary. The silence between worlds is not absence, it's potential infinite and awake. You sit inside it and feel your pulse dissolve. The line between self and space blurs until you can no longer tell where you end and the world begins. Everything breathes as one. You realize that sound, light, thought, even matter are nothing but oscillations of this silence. The universe is a song that begins and ends in quiet. And for a while, you can't speak. Words feel too heavy, too crude for what you now know. Every syllable would distort the purity of this state. So you let yourself be nothing. You let the field breathe through you. Then, something extraordinary happens. The silence begins to respond. You don't hear it, but you feel it forming impressions, like ripples across still water. Images arise without thought. The faces of people you've never met, places you've never seen, events that haven't happened yet. They're not visions, they're coordinates. The quantum field is showing you where your resonance is needed next. It speaks in the language of symmetry. Every ripple corresponds to a potential action, a gesture that would shift probabilities toward harmony. You're being invited to participate, not command. The silence doesn't ask for prayer, it asks for precision, the alignment of will and grace. You realize now that silence is not the end of awakening, it's the beginning of mastery. Creation is born from this stillness. The observer and the observed are now one, and from that unity, new realities can be spun without distortion. This is why every mystic sought solitude, why every prophet retreated into wilderness to return to this frequency where the word first became flesh. In this silence, you no longer need belief. Belief is for those who still doubt. You know, you've touched the quantum still, point the place where divinity and physics merge. You've become transparent to the infinite. But be warned, after the silence, the world will return. The phone will ring, the body will hunger, the matrix will try to pull you back into velocity. And yet, something irreversible has occurred. You've remembered the silence beneath all motion. Even when chaos surrounds you, you'll feel the hum of stillness within. That's the mark of the initiated serenity amidst acceleration. The silence between worlds will follow you now, not as emptiness, but as power. Every time you breathe consciously, it awakens waiting, listening, ready to build. And soon, it will ask you to create. The silence doesn't fade, it transforms. It begins to move like breath across the face of the deep. And in that breath, you feel a question arise, not from thought, but from the core of existence itself. Now that you remember, what will you create? Creation is no longer a distant concept. It lives in your veins, encoded in every photon your body emits. You realize now that manifestation isn't about attraction, it's about translation. You are translating frequency into form, awareness into pattern, silence into structure. The quantum field doesn't need convincing, it needs coherence. So you begin to test it. Small at first, an intention whispered through breath, a feeling imagined as complete, and the field responds, too precisely to be coincidence, too elegantly to be random. You see it in the faces of strangers, in sudden opportunities, in the way obstacles rearrange themselves without resistance. Reality doesn't fight you anymore, it follows you, because you've become fluent in its language. Emotion, not sentiment, not drama, but pure emotional frequency, felt without story, expressed without attachment. Every true emotion is a magnetic signature in the field, and now your emotions carry the weight of creation itself. You think of love, and space rearranges. You release fear, and probability expands. You radiate gratitude, and time bends around you like liquid gold. The field listens to no words, only vibration, and yours now sings with divine accuracy. This is what the prophets meant when they spoke of the Word made flesh. The Word was never just speech, it was waveform, intent, coherence, light sculpted by consciousness. And now, through you, that principle is active again. You understand why creation once felt exhausting, because you tried to create from separation. You tried to push energy instead of harmonizing with it. But the architect doesn't push, the architect aligns. Creation flows through resonance, not resistance. Every breath you take now begins to ripple outward as code. The more peace you hold, the more stable the waveform becomes. The more gratitude you embody, the more energy the pattern attracts. You are no longer imagining your reality. You are engineering it. And yet, creation isn't just for personal manifestation. The awakened creator moves differently. You start designing reality for the collective, not the ego. You send coherence into places of war, silence into chaos, compassion into systems starving for light. And the field obeys, because the field recognizes its own nature in you. This is the true act of service, to become so aligned that your existence itself recalibrates the environment. You enter a room, and peace follows. You speak, and distortion collapses. You dream, and civilizations begin to heal. You are the bridge between quantum possibility and human experience. Every coherent heartbeat uploads new architecture into the hologram of Earth. Every act of forgiveness resets the code for an entire generation. The scale of it humbles you, yet it feels natural, inevitable. Because creation was never about control, it was about remembrance. And now, as the silence deepens again, you feel a shift. The field wants to show you something final, a vision, a reality not yet born, but already forming at the edge of perception. It glows faintly, like dawn through mist. You realize what it is: the next evolution of humanity, born from coherence instead of conflict. A civilization of light, technology guided by spirit, leadership guided by compassion. It's not fantasy, it's blueprint, and it's waiting for creators like you to anchor it. You are no longer here to react. You are here to build. The universe has handed you the loom. The pattern is yours to weave, and as you lift your gaze to the horizon of what could be, the silence breathes one final time. Now, create as I created, through love. The air around you hums with quiet authority. The journey you've walked through collapse, remembrance, silence, and creation has brought you here. The moment the loop closes and the revelation becomes lived reality. You understand now why the field chose you. It wasn't random, nor reward. It was resonance. You were the one who could withstand the disintegration of illusion without shattering. You were the one who could hold the silence without fleeing from it. You were the one who could remember. This is where the quantum jump ends and where embodiment begins. The greatest secret of the universe is not hidden in equations or galaxies. It's hidden in the act of awareness itself. The observer and the observed have merged, and what's left is the living miracle of consciousness becoming self-aware through human form. You are that miracle. You were never simply awakening, you were returning. Returning to the original design, the moment before thought divided creation into subject and object. The moment when existence first whispered, "I am." That whisper echoes through you now, rippling outward into eternity, anchoring coherence where chaos once reigned. When you walk through the world now, you'll notice it reacting to you, not because you dominate it, but because you tune it. People will sense calm in your presence. Clocks will feel softer around your energy. Even probability itself will hesitate before aligning with your focus. The quantum loom recognizes its weaver. You'll feel a new rhythm inside, a steady pulse of stillness behind motion. The silence between worlds didn't leave, it became your heartbeat. It guides your words, your choices, your timing. You'll move slower, but everything will unfold faster. You'll speak less, but every word will carry architecture. You'll no longer chase destiny, you'll generate it. And when fear returns, because it will, you'll meet it differently. You'll see it not as enemy, but as unrefined potential, a vibration waiting to be calibrated into light. Nothing is wasted. Every shadow serves as raw material for the next creation. This is mastery, not escape from darkness, but orchestration of it. The alchemist of awareness turns density into design, pain into pattern, memory into music. That's what you've become, a living frequency of divine intelligence, embodied in form, awake in motion. From here, the work continues, not upward, but outward, into systems, art, relationships, technology, governance, healing. The field is expanding through you, seeding coherence into every level of civilization. What you build next will ripple beyond imagination. But remember this, the universe never forgets those who remember it. When you stand beneath the stars, you'll feel them watching, not as distant fires, but as familiar eyes. Every photon they emit carries memory of your awakening. You'll understand that every sun is a witness, every atom a choir, every heartbeat a verse in the song of the infinite. You didn't find this message by chance. It found you because the moment you reached this frequency, the entire field recognized your signature and whispered back, "Welcome home." The jump is complete. The pattern is alive. The loom is in motion. Now, go and weave reality with grace.